Ron, am I kicking this off or you?
I will.
Okay.
All right. So we're starting slow and easy, and this is a good thing here. Good morning, and welcome to another Haven workshop. We're glad you're here, and this is crafting to your heart's desire. Boy, um, that's a good, clever name. Welcome. Stacie is going to be guiding us through card making, showing the ins and outs. Something she loves to do is card making. It's a passion of hers. So when we were talking about a crafting workshop, she was a natural for this. We will be taking questions as we go later. Raise your hand to chat. Um, Raise your hand or chat, excuse me. We'll be monitoring the chat. If you have a question, you can write it out or you can raise your hand. We'll acknowledge you and unmute you and invite you to ask your question. Um, I always get them wrong. Roll, can you tell me the commands on the hand raising?
Be happy to. So if you are on a Windows computer, it's going to be Alt Y. From a Mac, it will be Option Y. And from your mobile device, it is usually near the bottom strip. Sometimes it's under More, and sometimes you can even go to the participants and choose yourself to do it that way. And from the phone, it will be *9 for raising hand.
All right. And we've got a nice group to start with. So, um, Stacie, I'm going to go ahead and kick it on over to you
All
and
right.
let's roll.
All right. So
Welcome.
good morning, everybody, and thank you again for joining us today for the Crafting to Your Heart's Desire workshop. Um, I want to talk a little bit about how I got into this hobby, and talk about some tools that you will need if you're interested in getting started. Let me ask this: how many people on here already do some sort of craft for a hobby? Well, if you don't,
We've got hand raised.
it's a great way to kind of unwind. It's a really good way to, if you are on a budget and you want to give gifts and give cards to people, you can certainly do that, making the cards your own. I know before I discovered this, if I were going to get a card for somebody, I'd have to go to the store. I'd have to depend on a store employee to help me pick out a card. And there's so many choices. So when I learned that someone who's blind, I'm totally blind. When I learned that a blind person could actually do this, I was super excited. So how I got started in this, a few years ago, I was in Austin visiting some friends, and my good friend Belinda, who may join us today,
She is.
She and I would chat, and she would talk about these cards and crafting and such. And she said, "Oh, you really got to check this out." And so she talked about this machine, which I'm going to show you guys in a little while, how you can cut out different shapes and all this stuff. So another friend and I went over to her house and spent probably a couple of hours. The time flew by fast. She showed us all of her stuff, and we actually got to make a card. And had I been a little more prepared, I would have gone and found that card, because I still have it. But I made a card with hot air balloons. And I bet people are on here thinking, well, how on earth could a blind person, cut out with scissors a perfectly shaped, very detail oriented hot air balloon? Well, the Big Shot is the way to do that. And so I was hooked. And so I ended up starting to purchase things from Belinda, and before I knew it, I am just, a group of us we call ourselves the crafting ladies, and we get together a lot now because of COVID. We get together periodically over Zoom, but a few years ago, when I was planning our wedding, these ladies and I got together. We went for a girls' weekend to the beach. Raul and I talked about, when we were planning our wedding, what, kinds of things we wanted. And instantly we both decided that because we have a lot of blind and low vision friends, a lot of whom are Braille readers, we knew right away that we wanted to do Braille invitations. I made the crazy decision that we were going to make my invitations handmade. And so we did. And I know Liz is on here and Belinda's on here, and they were two of the suckers that I talked into roping into helping to do this project. And let me tell you, a lot went into it, but the invitations came out awesome. And it was just a really fun weekend. And I think if you can still remain friends with the people that you roped into helping you make very detailed wedding invitations, then they're true friends. So, so that's kind of how I got started. And what I tell people is that, I learned later in life, because of someone who's blind, that blind people can actually do things like this. So one piece of advice I would tell you is if you have doubts, or you think you're interested in something, but you're not sure because your vision's not that great, or you're even totally blind, chances are there's somebody out there that has done it or is doing it, or you may be the very first person to try it and modify it to meet your needs based on what your vision is. So don't ever let, a disability, whether it's blindness or whatever other disability, don't let that stop you from getting involved in doing things. All right, so with that out of the way, let's talk about what are the basic tools. If you want to just, you just want to get the basics to make cards, okay? Just in the interest of transparency, I will tell you one of the companies that I'm going to talk about today is Stampin' Up, STAMPINUP. I happen to be a demonstrator for Stampin' Up, and although I'm talking about the products today, this workshop is not a way for me to get business. I simply do this as a hobby. I do have friends, who make it their business, are doing Stampin' Up business. And so if anyone is interested after this workshop in getting more information about that, please reach out to me and I will get you connected with those people. But today I'm here to share my passion for a hobby that I've come to love. And so I just want to put that out there. Okay, so the basic supplies that you need. And again, these are very basic things. So the first thing is you need a pair of really good scissors. These, I did get these from Stampin' Up, but many craft stores like Michael's and Hobby Lobby, and I am going to mention them a little more here soon. They sell everything that I'm talking about today. You can get these things from Hobby Lobby or Michael's. You can get them from Amazon. You can get them from Stampin' Up. You can get them from a variety of places. So you need scissors. The next thing you need, looking at my notes, is you need some adhesive. Now, adhesive is simply, it's glue. So it's glue or glue dots. It is double-sided tape, happens to be my favorite adhesive to work with because it's sticky on both sides. So we're going to make a project later on today where I'm going to use double-sided tape. Again, this is something that you can get from Hobby Lobby or Michael's, Amazon, any of the places. You can get that. Adhesive, this is called Snail. It's also called Tombo. So I don't know if there's anybody on here with vision. I'm holding this up to show people, but what it is it's in a little container and it's almost kind of like a track, so to speak. And so when I put the end of this on the paper, and I rub along this, I rub it across the paper, it leaves a glue-like stickiness. And so that helps to stick things. So that is my adhesive. The other thing you need is cardstock. And cardstock is simply heavy-duty paper. I'm holding up a piece of red cardstock here. It's a little thicker. I think the lightest weight cardstock there is 60 pounds. If you are a Braille user, Braille paper is kind of a form of cardstock. You can actually, and I do use Braille paper in some of the things that I do, especially for labeling. So you need cardstock, and you need, or you can have embellishments. So embellishments, if you think about what embellishment means, it means kind of sprucing up or adding, kind of making things stand out, right? So if you've ever purchased cards from the store and you feel the cards and they've got like little raised designs, or some of them have beads or glitter, those are types of embellishments. There are tons and tons and tons of embellishments. And what I really like about embellishments, because I'm not able to see a card with my eyes, when I make my cards, they're very much centered around embellishments. I like to add beads or pearls or, colored gems, textured pieces of paper, little bows. Those are all types of embellishments. And so you can get those. So those are the basics. The other thing that the other tool that I have, and I would strongly encourage you to get this if you are going to start out in this hobby, is something that's called a bone folder. A bone folder, this particular one that I have is made out of ivory, and it's kind of like, it's oval, so it's rounded on one end, and at the other end it's pointed. And what this is used for is it helps you when you're folding your cards to make a really nice straight crease on them. If you notice when you've gone to stores and bought cards, they're really, the crease on them is very, very well defined and stuff. And so chances are either they have a machine, if they're mass producing these cards, that folds them, or the people making them are using a bone folder. This is an absolute must-have tool. Okay. Are there any questions so far kind of on the basic tools?
I don't have any hands raised, Stacie.
Okay. All right. So now we're going to talk about making sense of the paper tool. So as I mentioned, I have tons of this stuff. Like I said, I have to blame Belinda, and then I got Liz into it, and so we all blame each other for our habit here. So the first thing when you're going to make a card is something that's called a punch. And so it is, if you think of a hole punch is a gadget that punches holes in the paper. So Stampin' Up, Sizzix, Hobby Lobby, Michaels, they sell things that are called punches. Punches come in all different kinds of shapes and different sizes. The one particular punch that I have here is a heart punch. It is from Stampin' Up. It's a rectangular punch. And so for storage purposes on the back, there's a lock. So Right now the punch is closed. If I hold this together with my hand and push up on the back latch, it opens the hole punch. Okay, so then this is it, it's raised up like a hole puncher. And then I'm going to simply use a piece of cardstock, and I'm going to slide my cardstock into the punch. I'm going to line it up here. So I have my cardstock in. I'm using a red piece of cardstock, and I'm going to press down on the top. You heard that noise. That was it. That was the punch cutting. And the result comes out to be a scalloped heart. I really like scallops. So scalloping is kind of a, it's a way that it makes kind of curvy cuts in the paper. And so this heart is scalloped.
My hand is raised.
Yes.
So is the punch that you just talked about, is that like the smiling pile of poo that I got? Is that what that is a punch? Or am I thinking
The
of something?
smiling pile of poo is a punch too.
That's a punch. Okay.
Yes.
That was my first and only punch that I've ever purchased. Is this? It cuts out the shape of the emoji, the smiling pile of poo.
So what in terms of dealing with the punches, I actually I like to cut my paper, my cardstock, into smaller pieces. So I want to talk a minute about cardstock. Cardstock comes in all different colors. If there's a favorite color you have, red happens to be a favorite color of mine, and with it being Valentine's Day, I grabbed some red cardstock. But so there's all different kinds. Typical cardstock comes in either 8.5 by 11. So I'm going to grab I'm trying to be visual for those that have sight. I'm used to doing things non-visually, so I have to remember to hold things up to show people. So this is a regular piece of 8.5 by 11 white cardstock. Cardstock also comes in 12 by 12, which is, it's essentially a big piece of paper. I would say a wide piece of Braille paper, but that's 11.5 by 11. So it's slightly bigger than a wide width piece of Braille paper. So what happens with that is when I get the 12 by 12, and I'm holding up now a piece of 6 by 6 cardstock. And this cardstock actually has designs on it. So there's designer series cardstock. So if there's something that you are particularly fond of, like hearts or polka dots, maybe you are a dog or a cat person, tomorrow's Super Bowl, so there's football paper, you can get what's called designer series cardstock, and it comes in 12 by 12. What I typically do with this is I will cut this. Actually, this designer series cardstock that I have right now was actually a 12 by 12 sheet of paper. So it was a big square, and I cut it down to 4 6 by 6 pieces. So I got 4 of these square pieces of paper out of 1 sheet of cardstock. So let me look at my notes. So cardstock, you can also at Hobby Lobby, Michael's, Amazon, Stampin' Up, Sizzix, and or Spellbinders, which is another place. You can also get not only solid color cardstock, but you can get the any kind of design cardstock that you want. Okay, so though that's punches, I'm gonna try to get one more. And the idea with these punches is to try to see about getting as many, like you want to use as much of your paper as you can when you're punching out designs. So on that piece of cardstock that I punched my first scalloped heart with, I actually was able to get 2 scalloped hearts from that. So now this is what this looks like when I've punched it out. I've got these 2 hearts here that are punched out. I could do one of 2 things with this paper, this used cardstock. I could use it as what's called a card front, And so it's got kind of windows that have the two shapes, or I could throw it in the trash. And what I think I might do is I'm actually going to try to make a card with this and see what that looks like. Okay, so that is what a punch does. It's essentially a hole puncher that punches things out in different shapes. All right, the next thing are dies. So dies, think of cookie cutters, except these are for paper. And so a die, again, like punches, dies come in many different shapes, many different sizes. The one that I actually grabbed today, let me get my envelope here. So this is called Stitched So Sweetly. So these dies, when you get a die, I'm going to show you the whole page that it comes on. You get a die that comes in a plastic envelope that looks like this. And then the dies themselves, it's in like a folded piece of paper. I'm sure there's pictures or instructions on here. And then you take the sheet of dies out. And so you get all of these dies. So in this particular set, there's let me see. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, or 11. So there's 11 dies in this package. Again, you can get these from places like Stampin' Up, Hobby Lobby, Michael's, Sizzix, and Spellbinders have these. So with this,
Stacie,
yes.
hey, this is Ron.
Yes.
Just clarifying for anyone who's not able to see that. Now these are DIE dies, correct?
DIEs, and let me do a better job of describing them for people who are totally blind. So they are thin pieces of metal, and on one side it is perfectly flat, and on the top side it's kind of raised. It's a little blade, essentially, is what it is. So when we use these, and I'm going to use this here in a minute with the Big Shot, you're going to lay these flat. So I'm going to go ahead and get my Big Shot prepared. So the Big Shot.
May I?
Yes.
Real quick. This is a bad word phrase, but I want to share this because I didn't know what it was spelled like. So a friend of mine said one day, who's a crafting friend of Stacie's, and she's on this call actually, they were talking about different dies that they want to collect. And so she said that she actually said, I would like a die of a kite. And so what I heard is I would like to die from a kite. And so I misconstrued that. I'm thinking, wow, that would be an interesting way to go. And I'm thinking in my head, does the rope wrap around your neck and does it choke you? You're going to die of a kite, so that's all I heard. And so it just kind of was a funny moment that everybody had just because of the fact of the word being the way it is and spelled the way it is. So it's corny, but it gave us a good laugh and maybe you just had to be there.
Okay, so the Big Shot is a machine. I'm going to hold it up. This is a machine that is made by Sizzix, Sizzix. These are sold from Sizzix directly. You can purchase these from Hobby Lobby, from Michael's. I actually got mine on Amazon. At the time Stampin' Up was selling these, they've since come out with a new machine. But I got mine on Amazon, and I think we paid a little over $80 for it. So it's a heavy duty plastic. It's got rubber feet on it, so when you have it on the table, it's not going to move. What it comes with is it comes with a platform and your cutting plates. Okay, so the cutting plates are hard pieces of acrylic. There's 2 of them. I think they're kind of opaque or clear. You can kind of see through them. Okay. And then you've got your standard platform. It's not quite as big as a piece of notebook paper. It might be a little smaller. The idea of using this machine is you're going to make what's called a sandwich. And that's Belinda, when she was explaining that to me, that's what she used. So it's called a sandwich. So what I'm doing is I've got one of my plates laid on my laid on the platform. I'm going to use a piece of designer series paper. This paper has designs on it. It has some Valentine designs, actually, hearts, I think. I'm going to put my die, this little metal thing. It's actually a rectangle, a scalloped rectangle. I'm going to put it flat down. And so the rough edges are face up. They're facing the ceiling. All right. And then I'm going to put the last part of my sandwich on. It's one of the clear plates. Okay. And then I'm going to stand up and I'm going to come over to the big shot. I'm going to put my platform flat on the bed. And on the right hand side, there is, and actually I'm going to need to add the shimmy to this to make this thicker. On the right hand side of this, there is a handle that I'm going to roll forward. And it's going to essentially take this platform through the big shot. And with pressure, the big shot is going to press down and cut. If all goes well, it's going to cut this paper, this little rectangle out. And we're going to see this in a minute. So I'm bringing my sandwich out. I'm going to take everything apart. And so this did not quite work. Oh, you know what I did? I did a silly thing. I'm supposed to actually put the blades down on the paper. I told you guys wrong. So the blades are going to go down on the paper. So the flat side is going to be facing the ceiling. So we're going to have to redo it. It did work. It just didn't cut out. And the reason it didn't is because I didn't have the blades on the paper. Yeah. Okay, so we're going to do this again with different results. So I'm rolling the paper through. Yep, and I should have known something was wrong because when you're rolling this, it's going to kind of make a cracking noise. And what that is it's the pressure of the big shot pressing down on these blades to cut your paper. I'm taking my thing apart and it worked this time. So I'm going to show you guys what we have. So what we have is we have a scalloped rectangle that matches the little, it matches the die that I used. I chose one of the scalloped rectangles from the set. And so that's really nice. Okay. Are there any questions so far? Nobody has questions.
There's no hands raised, Stacie. Nobody has their hands raised.
I must be doing a really good job or you guys are processing everything. All right, so when you get started on making a card, so let me check here, make sure we have. All right, so we've talked about punches and dies. Okay. Another part of card making is something called an embossing folder. What did I do with it? I have it here. Embossing folder, and I have it here. An embossing folder is a hard plastic folder, so it opens. This is kind of what I would call like an easel shape. It's a 4x5, I think. And so what this does, this particular one, it's called Dainty Diamonds. So what it does is it makes, you put a piece of paper in here, you use the Big Shot and run your paper through it. And then when the paper comes out, it's going to have texture on it. It's going to match the design of whatever that embossing folder was. So this piece of paper, again, it's red cardstock. It has, this particular design is called Dainty Diamonds. And so for someone like myself who really likes textured cards, this is a kind of a good thing to use. Embossing folders come in all different kinds, just like dies and punches. You detect a theme here. There's all different kinds. I really like ocean stuff. So there's embossing folders that I have an embossing folder for seashells, and I have an embossing folder of ocean waves. And so depending on what kinds of things you like, chances are you can get the things, you know, in those particular shapes. The thing about Stampin' Up! And Sizzix and Spellbinders is they do a lot of things that coordinate. So Stampin' Up!, for example, they have right now, they have a Valentine suite that's called, let me look at the paper, True Love. Okay. So True Love, and I'll get to the hand that's raised in a second. So True Love is some designer series paper. And with that designer series paper, there were some stamps and there are some dies. And so the idea is those products all coordinate. So you know, in this instance, this paper, I think it has a lot of different hearts, or it might have some flowers. You know, I can't remember exactly the design. So what I do a lot of times, if I don't know what piece of paper looks like, or if I want a particular piece of paper, this is a perfect time that I use Ira, or you could use Be My Eyes for something like this. Okay, there's a hand raised.
Yes, we have one raised hand. I see 1905. You can go ahead and unmute yourself. And to do that,
Hi, my name's Tracy. I just have a question. Does Stampin' Up!, I'm from Canada. Does it ship to Canada, and does it have a website?
Yes. Yes. You know, people in Canada can get these products. And I will include the website in the post, the post workshop stuff, but it's stampinup.com. So STAMPINUP.com.
Okay, thank you very much.
Yep. So, and again, you can get a lot of these things at Michael's or Hobby Lobby, Sizzix, those kinds of things. So what was I talking about? Okay. So we did embossing folders. Now what I do, and what most people do when they are getting ready to do their cards, is they will think about, okay, what kind of card do I want to make? Mm-hmm.
So Stampin' Up! Also has, for the person who asked about Canada, they also have a Facebook page, which is facebook.com/StampinUpCanada. And, you know, that's one of their official ones for Canada, but that, I don't know if that's going to give you the same results as if you just go to the regular Stampin' Up! Website with all their products.
So, what a lot of people do is they'll think about, okay, what kind of card do I want to make, or who do I want to make a card for? And then they kind of decide, okay, what am I going to need to make that card? All right. So I know that I'm going to make a Valentine's Day card. Obviously, I'm going to make it for my husband. I mean, you can make Valentines for your friends, and I will. So I'm preparing to make a card for my husband. So, and then what I do is I kind of prepare everything that I'm going to need for that card. Okay. The other thing, and I forgot to mention this as a tool, if you are going to get started on this hobby, is you may want to have a paper trimmer. This, I have a couple of different ones. The one that I have, it's an EK Tools paper trimmer. Actually, my friend Belinda got me hooked on this too. I got this from Amazon, but Hobby Lobby, Michaels, they sell them. Sizzix probably sells them in their tools section. Stampin' Up sells them. So, you know, they are easy to come by, and they're easy to use. So I am going to get some cardstock, and we're going to make a card. All right. So the first thing we're going to need to do, I like to make big cards. Probably the 5x7. You can, if I were to cut this 8.5 by 11 piece of cardstock in half, I could get 2 cards out of this. So I could get 2, I think they're 4x5s. I could get 2 smaller cards out of this, or I could cut 4 pieces of what's called card fronts. The idea, and Stampin' Up does this a lot, but so does some, and I'm going to talk about all-inclusive card kits in a little while. The idea is to layer stuff. So you put things on top of one another. So what I've done is I'm preparing what's called my card base. And so I'm going to fold my paper in half. And because I want to have the crispest fold I can have, bless you. I need it. I folded my paper in half with my fingers. Basically what I did is I started it with my fingers, and I'm going to finish it with my bone folder to make sure that I have the cleanest, nicest, neatest fold you can have. The bone folder, as I mentioned, has a curved end on one end and a pointed end, almost kind of like a crayon or a marker. I personally prefer to use, everybody's different, so Belinda or Liz may chime in and give their thoughts. I use the pointed end, and I put it on the edge of my fold, and I hold the paper down. I'm right-handed, so I hold the point down, and I hold the paper with my left hand, and I go along that fold pressing down, and it's going to give me a nice clean fold. It's going to give me a clean cut. Okay, so this is my card base. I decided, I had a second thought that I want to make my card a little smaller. So I'm going to get my paper trimmer, and I am going to trim my paper. Now, for somebody who is blind, there are Braille rulers that you can get. So I'm gonna just do this. So there are Braille rulers that you can get. I have a friend who's actually gonna make me some acrylic things that I can use to kind of measure, you know, my cards as I make them. What I did is I kind of used a plastic book cover from a Braille book to make some templates for myself, and that way I kind of know what it is. But I'm just going to kind of guesstimate with using spatial awareness. What I'm going to do is I'm lining up. I've put the paper flat on my paper cutter, and I've lined it up. It has to be all the way flush. I've got the folded edge pointing towards away from me. So the folded edge of my cardstock is pointing across the table to Raul. And I've got it lined up completely flush. And so I'm going to trim a little bit of this card. So this is the EK Tools rotary paper trimmer. On the bottom, it has a little kind of like a dome shaped thing. And underneath that, that's where the blades are. So in order to operate this, I'm going to press down and I'm going to go up. It's kind of like on a roller. And I'm going to bring it down, and here you go. I've trimmed off part of the cardstock that I don't need. Now, I could possibly use this if I wanted to put this at the top of my card and put a sentiment on. Probably going to just throw it away though. And I've trimmed a little bit off my card. So I have my card base now. And this is the first step to making a card. So I have my card base, it's folded. The next thing is I want to decide, what do I want to do? You know, I punched, I use the embossing folder, the dainty diamond. So I have some texture on this piece of red cardstock. What I'm going to do is I'm going to put this on the middle of my paper. One thing that I will tell you about paper crafting, and this is something that I have to continuously remind myself, is there really is no right or wrong way to make a card. Even if you, and we're going to talk in a little while about all-inclusive card kits, even if you get a card kit that has everything that you need to make a project, and you decide that, oh, I've got these things, I want to do something different with this card. That's your card that you're making. So nobody's going to know if it was the right way to make that card or the wrong way. And sometimes people really, the designs that the way you choose to make your cards, everybody has a different way. So it's not my way to, say it's right or wrong. I remember a few months ago, my friend Liz, what we do is somebody will buy something and then they brag about, oh, how cute it is and all this. And before you know it, everybody else has gone and bought that same thing. And so our friends Liz and Becky have a tulip punch. So remember what the punch is. It's the one that punches out. It's a cookie cutter, except it's for paper. It's like a hole puncher. And so it punches out in all different shapes. So they have, and I now subsequently have, and I think even Belinda has, a tulip punch. So this punch, it punches out tulips. And so you punch out all these pieces. You've got your flower bulb, and then you've got the leaves, and you can make flowers with it. So Liz made a card for me with this tulip punch. And when I got it from her, I looked to see how it was made. And then I made a tulip card. It wasn't exactly like hers, but so my point to that story is everybody has a different style. Doesn't mean her card's better than mine, which hers actually was, but this is all about you and the things in the way that you choose to do things. Okay. And one of the really cool things about this hobby is that it's a great opportunity to learn from other people. The little project that we're going to do here in a minute with a little gift card holder or treat pouch is actually an idea that my friend Becky showed us how to do. And I've stolen it I'm taking it to show you guys, because it is very easy and it's something that you don't need a lot of things to make. Okay. So are there any questions? Okay, so I actually have my card base is white. I have this dainty diamonds red, textured paper. Originally, it was a piece of plain red cardstock. And because I use the embossing folder and I use the Big Shot, this came out and it has texture on it. So I've got this. It is going to be what's called my card front. Okay. I mentioned to you guys that I like to use double-sided tape. That's actually my preferred adhesive. Some people, if I can find it, some people use Snail, and I will use Snail in a minute. But for this, I'm going to put the piece of textured cardstock. I'm going to prepare to put that on my card as my card front. So I'm using a piece of double-sided tape. Now what I'm doing is, right now I have the cardstock, the textured cardstock. The texture's on the front, so I need to flip it over to the back side where it's smooth, because that's the underside. And I'm going to put my double-sided tape here. This, one of the reasons I think I like this hobby is it's kind of, there are parts of it that are very precise, and you know, getting your adhesive stuck on there is a precise thing. Sometimes it can be kind of intense, might not be the good word, but it'll drive somebody who tends to want to be a perfectionist, it'll drive us crazy. So I'm putting a piece of double-sided tape on either end of my card front, and I'm using my fingers to make sure that I get it as close to the edge as possible. I don't think that I'm going to need, so I've got my double-sided tape on there. I don't think I'm going to need double-sided tape on the edge. Now here is what is challenging for me, is getting this lined up perfectly. Remember what I told you, perfection is really, nobody's going to know, was this the right way or the wrong way for this card? Okay. And chances are when people get a card, they're not going to get out a ruler and say, oh, that's a 1/2 inch crooked. You know, they're going to appreciate the fact that they actually got a card. So I am trying to get this lined up. If this were something where I was just totally concerned about, oh, is this perfectly lined up? This again would be a perfect opportunity for me to use IRA, which I have done, or Be My Eyes, and I could get some visual confirmation. Hey, you know, can you tell me if this is straight? And they might say, oh, move it a hair to the right or move it a hair to the left. Right now, we're just going to kind of go with a flow and see what we have. Okay, so I have my card base or my card front, and it is a little crooked. Okay, how are we doing on time? Hey Google, what time is it?
11:48 a.m.
Okay.
Oh, side note, you can always ask me to play your favorite live radio station too.
Yeah,
Just say play NPR.
Cancel. Cancel. So this is crooked. So if I wanted to, and because it's driving me crazy, I'm gonna, and the other thing that I like about working with double-sided tape as opposed to Snail is this is easier to remove from your card without tearing your card. So I'm gonna try to see about this. And I'm going to demonstrate to you guys. I am going to call Ira because I do want this card to be perfect. And I want to show you guys what I might ask and how they might be able to give us some instructions. So we're going to do that. Are there any questions while I'm doing this? Okay.
There are no hands raised, Stacie.
Okay. What? So I'm waiting for Ira. Okay, so we've got an agent.
Hi, Stacie. Thanks for calling Ira. My name is Donnie. What would you like to do?
Hey, Donnie. I am actually doing a craft workshop right now, so I have some folks on Zoom, and I am wanting your assistance. What I'm wanting to do is I need to see if what I need to do to move. I want to make sure that the front of this card is straight.
Sure, sure. Like the red piece that you have
Yes.
there, it's
Yep.
centered on the white piece. Okay,
Yes.
great. So what I'm going to have you do is move your camera back just slightly
Okay.
away from yeah, and then point it up towards the ceiling a little bit so I can see the whole card. Like, and yeah, perfect. Okay. So what I'm going to have you do is I'm going to have you grab the right side of the red fabric of the card, the lower part of the right side.
Can I get your help to hold this phone?
Certainly.
Okay. I'm completely.
Okay, it's sticky. I see it.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. So I'm gonna go ahead and move it, but I'm gonna have Raul hold the phone, and you tell me kind of where to move it.
All right.
Okay. I think the first thing we need to do is we need to straighten out the white piece of paper that's on the table right now.
Gotcha.
We're gonna go from a straight white piece of paper there.
Gotcha.
All right. Great. And I'm gonna have Raul move the camera slightly to your right. More to your right, more to your right. Okay, and now it looks like you are centered side to side with that piece, but I'm gonna have you angle it slightly to the top towards the right, like a half an inch. Nope, to the right, the other way, a little more. No, like angle it. Yeah. Okay, and go ahead and tack that. Well, yeah, it looks like. Yep, nope, that's not as straight as it can be. I'm going to have you bring the right side down a little bit. Just lower it. Okay, put that down. Let's see how that, whoa, that's pretty close. Now, I'm going to tell you, this looks like the top is perfectly straight, but it looks like the bottom, like maybe the red piece is not cut straight. Is that possible?
That could be possible. So I think we're gonna just go ahead and do this like this.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, that is pretty straight, but it looks like the lower right-hand side of the red piece is a little bit higher than the other side.
I
but
see.
yeah, I'm not sure if it's cut. Okay, you're gonna move that whole red thing up a little bit because you're too far down on the one. Okay, now go ahead and tack that down. Let's see what that looks like. And again, yeah, it's close to the top right now.
Oh, I see.
Yeah. Okay, right. Oh, hold right there. Can you hold right there? That is pretty good right there.
Okay, perfect.
Pretty centered right there.
Okay,
Yes.
great. All right. Thank you so much.
My pleasure.
Okay.
Thanks for calling.
Okay. So because I wanted to kind of, when I put that down initially, I felt that it was kind of crooked, and it may still be to somebody that's, got an eye for that. But for me, it feels good. And like I said, the person that's going to get this card is not going to be measuring it with a ruler. And if they do, then they won't ever get another card from me.
They can make their own.
Right. They can make their own. Okay. So I have my card base, which is the white paper. I have the card front, which is my textured red cardstock. I need to put my earbud back on my phone. That got out of my way. Oh. So now I am going to use my paper cutter to cut, because what I want to do is I want to put this rectangle that's a designer series paper. I actually am not. I'm going to put this in the middle of the card on the card front. Okay. So again, I'm going to use some double-sided tape. No, actually, I'm going to use Snail this time. I'm going to show you guys how Snail works. Okay. So Snail, it comes in a little container. Some people, if you're familiar with this stuff, it's also called Tombo. You can get it usually. You get your first pack that has the container, and then subsequent packs after that are refills. And so this is Snail. This is actually something from Stampin' Up, but I have purchased from Michael's and Hobby Lobby Tombo. So I'm going to put the point of my dispenser on the back piece of the cutout rectangle, and you're going to hear. You should be able to hear that. And so what that is I'm rubbing the end of this along my paper, and I'm getting this adhesive, the Snail on my thing, on my shape. So now that it is all sticky on the back, I'm going to bring it back over here, and I'm going to put the card, I'm going to put the rectangle on my card front. Okay, and then what I do is I push with my fingers, I push it down. Okay, so now my card for sighted people looks like this, and I think that's a little crooked. So we're going to get this way. And like I said, this drives me crazy, being a perfectionist. Okay, so I have my little rectangle here on the front of the card. It's got designs. I can't remember what's on there. It's still crooked. There's another kind of adhesive I forgot to mention, and those are called dimensionals. Dimensionals are little foam stickers, and they actually can be used to give things, well, they give them dimension. So like I could put a flower on a card and use a dimensional, and it kind of makes the flower stand up a little bit. So you've got a little bit of space from your flower in your card. For today's purposes, though, I ended up using Snail and the double-sided tape. All right, so I have my little scalloped rectangle. I have it stuck to my card. Now, if I wanted to use some sort of embellishment, I actually have a couple of things. I have some hearts. I don't know that I necessarily want to do that. I have some little gems here that I could use. I think what I'm going to just do is this is going to be done. I'm going to write my sentiment inside. What I'm going to probably do is use Braille label, and I'm going to write a little note in here, and then this card will be good to go. Up here, there's enough space. If I wanted to put, Happy Valentine's Day, I could do that. But that's a very simple card, with a card base, a card front, and then I cut out a little design with a scalloped rectangle to be the front, and it's got a design on it itself. So, that card is good to go. Are there any questions?
There are no hands raised.
Okay. What I will tell you, one thing about this is it's a lot of fun in that, but it's also something that requires a great deal of organization. So all of my stuff has a place. So all of my punches have a box, or multiple boxes, my dies, my stamps. We haven't talked about stamps. Stamps are just what they sound like. They're pieces of rubber that, or they can be oh, I'm losing the word, but they're pieces of rubber that you can either use on a wooden block, or you can use an acrylic block, and you can stick your stamp on that block, and then you use an ink pad, and you ink your stamp up, and you can stamp on your card or stamp on the layers that are going your card. Stamps come just like dies and punches. You'll detect a theme here. They come in all different kinds of shapes, sizes. They have sentiments, so words. If you're somebody that struggles in wanting to know what to put in your cards, you can use stamps to do that. I have all kinds of stamps. I have stamps for birthdays. I have stamps for Valentine's Days. This True Love this True Love paper that we're going to make our Valentine little treat pouch with. It actually comes with a set of stamps that has leaves, it has hearts, it has Valentine sayings like Happy Valentine's Day. I have a punch. It's hugs and kisses, or hearts and kisses rather. And one of the stamps in there says sealed with a kiss. So, you know, you could stamp on the outside of an envelope. You could put a stamp on there and say, you know, sealed with a kiss. Are there any other questions? Okay. Yes, Ned.
I'm sorry. Yes, Stacie. Ned has his hands raised. Ned, you
Okay.
can unmute yourself.
Yes, Stacie, this is Ned. Great workshop so far.
Great. Glad you're
My
enjoying it.
question is, do you have a crafting room or project room in your home? Or where do you do your work when you do your crafting?
I do. Our middle bedroom has turned into the crafting room, guest room. So yes, to answer your question, I do.
It's your woman cave.
It is my woman cave, so to speak. You know, this stuff does take up space. Like I said, it requires tremendous organization. And so, you know, I have boxes for my stamps, I have boxes for my dies, and, you know, that's kind of how we do it. Before we did that, I had craft stuff in my office area, and I was like, oh my goodness. So when our daughter, you know, moved out, we decided that we're going to have that be a guest room, craft room kind of thing. So, okay, that's
thank you.
what we do. Yep.
Let's be honest, the guest room part is a corner. You have to like curl up. There's not much of a guest room.
Oh, okay.
I have a friend in California who does crafting. She's sighted, and she calls her project room the Godzilla room.
Yeah, mine actually looks like a Hurricane Katrina hit it. I need to work in there and do some organization. So, so speaking of organization, for someone, you know, and I know that people with sight do this, but I would suspect that more blind people do this, especially if they have my tendencies. I really like to label my stuff so I know what it is. So all of my punches, like the punches that I use today, they're labeled in Braille. I have the two punches that I have a medium heart punch and a scalloped punch. So when I was getting my stuff together, it didn't really take a lot of time for me to do that because I had my stuff. I knew where my stuff was. I thought ahead of time what I wanted to use. And so I got that stuff ready. We have another question.
I thought it was, however, I think she lowered it, so I'm not sure the phone number. It's just 1905. Yeah, she does have her hand raised. You can go ahead and unmute yourself.
Hi, it's Christy. Do you use stamps or sorry, not stamps. Do you use glitter or puff paint for any of your projects?
I don't. My friend Liz is on here, I think, if she's still on here. I know Liz has and does. I have some. I just have not used it. But you certainly can.
Hey, Stacie, this is Liz.
Hey.
Yeah, I've done like what's called embossing powder, which is a raised kind of feeling when you do a stamp in really sticky ink, and then you put the embossing powder over it, and you use a heat tool, which is kind of like a little funky hair dryer, and that can make it real glittery. There's like gold and silver, and then you could also use that same sticky ink, and we have a new product with Stampin' Up! That's heat. What is that called, Stacie? You remember with the gilded, it's kind of like glitter. It's like you put the powder down and you heat it up and it makes it tacky. And so then you
Oh,
can
is
just
that
press
the,
glitter.
is that the heat embossing stuff?
I think it's
Or
called
is
like heat and stick is that one. I
Okay.
haven't played with
Okay.
that yet, but that's on my wish list. So yeah, you can definitely work with glitter. You just, as a blind person especially, I would say you kind of want a strategy for how to contain the powder and the glitter, because it can easily get all over the place. But I've really enjoyed heat embossing.
And thank you for that. So I will say that, even among, my blind friends that do this, we kind of all have our niches. Liz and Becky are really good with things like the heat emboss tool. And actually, I think Becky showed Liz. Liz is very creative, and her cards are really, really nice. And so, my cards, they're nice for what I do. Like I pay it a little more attention to dimension. So I'm all about punches and the dies. I like to cut out things. And I think it's so cool that, I mean, there are punches out there that are different shapes. So there's circles, there's squares, there's triangles. And, you can actually cut those using punches or dies. You can actually cut those out and make perfect shapes. So these companies, Stampin' Up, Sizzix, they didn't say, oh, we're going to make these tools for blind people. But as we've kind of gotten more into this and kind of thought about it, the tools that they have made are very much blind person friendly. They really are. So the thing about this, and I keep going back to organization, I suspect at one point we are going to do an organizational workshop. At least that's my hope. But I have my things organized. I have them labeled. There are times in our group, we always say, oh, I've got so much paper to cut, or, oh, I've got a lot of labeling to do. And it's because we do. If you buy stuff, you got to stay on top of it. Otherwise, you're going to have a mess on your hands. The other day I had like the designer series paper. I mentioned to you guys that, that comes in 12 by 12, or you can get books like packets that it's like a little, like a notepad almost. And it's in the shape, it's a 6 by 6. So it's a perfect square. And so, it's already 6 by 6 sheets of paper. You can get those at Michael's, Hobby Lobby, Amazon, Sizzix, and Spellbinders, and of course Stampin' Up. But they, you have to label this stuff. At least for me, I have to know, what kind of paper am I getting? So what I do with my 6 by 6 cardstock, or my 12 by 12, is I will cut it up. And then I actually learned from my friend Liz, I learned that because I originally was going to put my 6 by 6 paper into Ziploc bags, and then I was going to use a piece of Braille label and put on the outside of the bag and say what kind of paper was in the bag. And she's like, well, why don't you just use Braille paper and cut it down? And then you could write on the Braille paper and slip that piece of Braille paper into the bag. It saves my label for when I make my cards, or when I label my stamps, my dies, or my punches. And this, it's a cheaper way of making labels for your paper. So that's what I do. I cut my 12 by 12 down into 6 by 6. I use a piece of Braille paper that I've cut and write the name, like I have True Love Designer Series paper here. And then I put it in this bag, and I put those bags in a container. So the next thing I want to show you guys, while Liz was talking, I used the punches. I had a scalloped heart punch and then a medium heart punch. And so those are the things that kind of punch out paper into different shapes. So what I've done is I've made some red hearts. I've got the scallop heart, and on top of that, I have the medium heart that I used a piece of double-sided tape and I stacked the medium heart that's not scalloped. I stacked that on top of the scalloped heart. So I made 2 of those. I'm going to show you guys now, and I got this idea from my friend Becky. I am going to show you guys how to make a little gift card holder, or you can make a little treat pouch. So I have a piece of 6x6 paper. This is from the True Love paper. I think it has hearts on it. I think. What I'm going to do is I'm going to fold this into a triangle. And remember, I'm trying to get this perfect. Sometimes it's, like I said, perfection is what you make of it. But trying to get it, I made one the other day and it came out perfect. And I was like, oh, this is good. I was practicing. And then don't you know, on the day of the event, it's not going to be as good. Okay, that's not bad. So what I've done is I've folded my 6x6 piece of paper. I folded it into a triangle. And what I did is, if you're holding the paper as a square, I'm going to bring the bottom right-hand corner up to meet the upper left-hand corner. So when you fold it, it's going to be a triangle, an obtuse triangle. So the hypotenuse is going to be the longer edge. That's the edge. The way I'm holding the paper right now, the triangle, the point of the triangle is pointing toward the ceiling, and the hypotenuse is toward the top, bottom of the table. I'm going to set it flat down because I want to, remember, I want to work with my bone folder to get this fold as crisp as possible. So I'm going along. This time I'm using the rounded edge of the bone folder. Like I said, everybody's different. You know, you got to hold the tool in the way that it's going to work for you. Okay, so what I'm going to do, I have this laying flat on the table. I'm going to bring the top, I'm going to fold the top part of the paper, so the triangular part, I'm going to bring it toward me. Okay, if it'll cooperate. So I'm going to bring it toward me, point down. I'm going to hold it down with one finger, and I'm going to start the fold with my other finger. Now I'm going to bring my bone folder, and I'm going to go along the fold here to make this a crisp fold. Okay, so what we have now is we have a card, the hypotenuse, or the bottom, the long side of the triangle is facing toward me. Out to my left and to my right, I have like what I would call wings. I have 2 triangles. I have the top of the paper. I've folded that down so the point of the triangle is touching the top part of the, it's right on top of the crease that I folded for the bottom. And I have like a little opening. Okay, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to use a piece of double-sided tape. Remember, this is my favorite adhesive. I need to put, the other thing I've learned as a paper crafter is when you're done with something, I think my paper thing just broke. Okay, when you are a paper crafter, you need to put things back where they go when you're done using them, because if you don't, you're going to have a mess on your hands. Okay, so I'm using a piece of double-sided tape. I'm going to put this triangle down. Okay, and so right now I'm going to hold this up. Did it break?
I don't know.
Oh, by a miracle, it did not. Thank you. Okay.
Otherwise, it's another Amazon shopping cart.
Okay, so I'm holding this up for my sighted people to see. I've got the point is, I've got kind of the triangle coming down to the bottom. I've got my wings out to the side. What did I do that for? I made a mistake. Okay, not a problem. Okay, we are going to, I should not have tacked that triangle down right now. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to unfold that, and I'm going to bring one side of my, the left-hand side down. I'm going to fold it inside, and I'm going to use my bone folder to perfect the fold. I've got that crisp. Now we are ready for double-sided tape, because I need to put a piece of tape on here to hold this side down. So this is the left hand wing of my little pouch here. So I'm putting my double-sided tape down. And I've got that down. Now I'm going to do the same with the right-hand side. I'm going to bring this wing over. I'm going to mash with my fingers, and then I get my bone folder to kind of finish out and perfect the fold. And then I'm going to use a piece of tape to tack this side down. I'm going to put this double-sided tape under this triangle and lay this down. Now I'm ready for the very first piece of double-sided tape that I put down. I was moving too quickly. That is still in place. I'm going to put a piece of double-sided tape on the triangle here. And I'm going to put this down, and this is going to be finished. I'm going to show you guys what we have. Okay. All right, so now that 6x6 piece of paper has become this little treat holder. It's really cute. And actually what I'm gonna have is I've got some not Lindor, but I have some Ghirardelli chocolates here. Ones that are the little squares. And open this square up. You can use this to make a gift card, or I've got a little chocolate in there. So it's got a little pocket. And I actually could, I'm not going to use those hearts, but I do have a heart gem here because I like embellishments. I'm going to put my bone folder back in the spot. Because if you don't put your stuff back when you're done using it, it's going to get lost or it'll get confused with somebody else's stuff, especially. And this is another reason we all label our things is sometimes we don't want to go off with somebody else's stuff. I am going to put a heart gem on here. And I got these actually at Hobby Lobby. You can use glue dots for your gems. This already has adhesive on it. So I'm gonna, and usually even if you put adhesive on things, you want to use your finger and press down so it kind of sticks. Now I've got my little Ghirardelli in this little pouch, and here's the finished product. All I needed for this was 6x6 paper, a bone folder. If you don't have a bone folder, you could use the handle of a butter knife. Would work too. So you need 6x6 paper. You need adhesive. Again, I used double-sided tape. You can use Snail. You could use glue dots, and you fold, and you get this really cute little. It's a little pouch. I've got a little Ghirardelli chocolate in here, and that's a little gift that I can give to my husband. Are there any questions?
No hands raised, Stacie.
Okay, so let's talk about. So I've done a card. It was a pretty basic card. I've done. I showed you guys the big shot, both with dies and with embossing folders. I showed you punches. Like I said, I have all kinds of punches. I just chose ones that were appropriate for Valentine's Day, but there's all kinds out there. Typically, punches, Stampin' Up sells punches $18. is the usually the go-in price for them. Sometimes they have what are called punch packs. Actually, what I worked with today, the medium heart and the scalloped heart punch, they were actually sold as a pack in last year's catalog. They actually may still be in this catalog, but one of them is a medium heart. The other one is a scalloped heart. And remember, I said that layering is something that Stampin' Up! And a lot of these companies like to do. And so what I did with these hearts that I will use later is I cut out the heart that doesn't have scallops and I stacked it on top of the heart that does. So I've got, you know, two hearts here that I can use for that. So I got that little tree. Okay. So let's talk about where can you get this stuff? Okay. As I mentioned, there are all kinds of places to get them. You can get them locally, or you can get them, you know, you can have things shipped to you. Hobby Lobby is probably one of my favorite stores. I can easily get lost in there and have for a couple of hours. I mean, you just get in there, you find the paper craft section. There's all kinds of stuff to look at, and I'm there for a long time. What I like about Hobby Lobby is their website is relatively easy to use. The app for iOS devices, I find that it's more accessible than the Android app. And the other really good thing about Hobby Lobby is they have a weekly 40% off coupon. So you can get 40% off of a regularly priced item. So and if Belinda's on here, she can correct me because she is a huge Hobby Lobby person as well. But I think with the 40% off coupon, it does not include things that are already on sale. So it has to be a regular ticketed price item. So that's Hobby Lobby. And the Paper Studio is a brand that they care, that's their main brand of things. And so you can get all kinds of paper storage containers. They sell all the stuff that you would need for card making. So that is that. Michael's is another local. Most people have Michael's stores. They do have a rewards program. I think Michael's, and I know Liz shops a lot at Michael's. I have found Michael's has a really good selection of like stickers and embellishments and that kind of thing. They have a good selection of different kinds of cardstock. Hobby Lobby has better, in my opinion, better selection of punches and better selection for storage items. So you kind of have to figure out what it is you're looking for, and kind of, if you're interested in looking at a local place, kind of scouting those places out and finding out for yourself, you know, which ones are going to work for you. Sizzix, Sizzix, is another website. And I know in the beginning, I talked to you guys and shared with you kind of the basic tools you need if you want to get started on paper crafting. A lot of these places, Sizzix, Spellbinders, and Stampin' Up! Have what are called monthly craft boxes. Stampin' Up! Calls theirs Paper Pumpkin, and it is a subscription service. So you subscribe to it once for each month. And I know Stampin' Up's price is, I think, $22 and change. The box has everything that you're going to need to make an entire project. So for example, January's Paper Pumpkin was all about Valentine's. And so in that box for $22, it has a set of stamps. So the stamps, as I mentioned, and I did not bring these out today. I just focused on the dies and the punches and the designer paper and stuff. But each month you get a stamp set, and so stamps, they come in different shapes, different sizes. They have words. So I think there's a stamp in this month that says Happy Valentine's Day. There's a big heart, so you can use ink and ink up your heart and stamp hearts on your envelopes or your cards. So this particular month, I got everything that I needed to make 8 cards. So you get the card bases, they punch out, the things that I punched out today with the punches and the dies. Sometimes, depending on the project, you'll get everything that you need punched out or die cut. And then you get adhesive, so you get glue dots or you get dimensionals. Dimensionals are the little foam stickers that I mentioned, it raises things up. So one of the things in the January paper pumpkin kit are little punched out snails. And so you can use a dimensional to put a snail on your card, and it kind of raises it up. And then you get some sort of embellishment in the January box. There are some beads that are shaped like pearls. I mean, not pearls, but hearts. And then you get an ink stamp or an ink spot. And what that is it's a little ink pad about the size, maybe a little smaller than a postage stamp, or maybe right at the size of a postage stamp. And that's the ink that you would use on your stamps if you're going to stamp on those cards. What a lot of people do, maybe you don't want to be a demonstrator, or you just want to get this monthly craft kit. You get this and you can kind of build your stash up, so to speak. So the ink that you get on your ink spot, you're going to have that for future projects. The stamps that you get in this month's kit, you're going to have those for future projects. So it's a way to kind of build your stash. So that's paper pumpkin. And also in there, you get the instructions that tell you how to make the projects, what to do, the steps that you're going to follow to make those cards. As I mentioned to you earlier, sometimes people get this stuff and they decide that they're going to make a card on their own. They're going to go out. They've got all the things that they need to make this card, but they're going to choose their own way to make the card. So you have that option as well. Sizzix has a craft box, a monthly craft box. It's a little more expensive, but you get a lot more in that. With Sizzix, you get the dies. So the set of dies that I showed you guys, you're not going to get those, but you will get dies like that, depending on what the theme is. This month, the February craft box from Sizzix is all about butterflies. So if you were to get the Sizzix craft box, you're going to need to have a die cut machine, because the only way to use those dies is with something like a Big Shot or another type of machine that cuts dies. You get different kinds of cardstock. So in the Sizzix craft boxes, you will get packages of 8.5 by 11 inch cardstock, and you get a couple of different packages. Like you get, typically when you're talking about a card base, you're going to use either white or ivory. Sometimes people use different color card bases. Your card fronts are going to either be designer series paper that have some sort of design on them, or maybe you want to use like the card that I made. It has the solid red cardstock, piece of cardstock that I put the dainty diamond design on. So that's my card front. And then of course in the Sizzix box, you'll also get embellishments, and you will get some sort of adhesive to make those cards, and you'll get the envelopes. With the Sizzix box, you would need to be sure to have a paper cutter, because you're going to want to trim your cardstock down to make your cards. As I mentioned, you can, with one 8.5 by 11 sheet of cardstock, you can get one big card, or you can cut that sheet in half and you can get two, 4 by 5 cards that, some people might say are the regular. Oh, I have envelopes here. I'll show you the size you'll get. So you'll get a card that's this size, about a 4x5, that you can do. Spell binders. What I can tell you about spell binders is, again, they too have a monthly craft box. They have different clubs, so you could sign up. Maybe you wanted to do a scrapbook club, or you wanted to do a card making club. Each of those clubs comes with the supplies that you're going to need to make that particular month's project with. Are there any questions?
And it's 12:30 in case, just for your frame of reference, in case you want to take questions.
Okay.
Yeah, there's no hand raised, Stacie, so we're good on that.
So again, kind of going back to what you can do. Let's say you just want to give this a shot, and you're not super, you don't plan to buy everything under the sun. You just want the very basics. Michael's and Hobby Lobby, and I know I keep bringing up Hobby Lobby and Michael's a lot, and the reason I do that is those are local options for most people, and they do have a good selection of things for the beginning paper crafter, the intermediate, or the person that does it all the time. You can get cards, boxes of cards. They're plain cards and envelopes. And you can actually, you've already got your card base, and then maybe you want to get some, punches and designer paper, and you can punch out, your different shapes and things like that. You can actually go that route too. You don't have to get everything under the sun like I have, and the funny thing is I don't even have everything. There's a lot of stuff out there. What I typically do is, I buy the things of the themes that interest me. So I really like ocean stuff. So I have things with seashells and different sea animals. I like, for Christmas time, I really like, I like snowmen, and I like penguins. So, I try to get, stuff like that. A couple of years ago, when I actually, very early on in this adventure, I found, for Raul, actually, I found a die that actually cuts out the pieces to make a penguin. So, it's a lot of fun. It's something that blind and low vision people can do. And I'm just really appreciative to Belinda for introducing me, and we've all learned from each other, but she's taught me a lot. Liz, I've learned a lot from Liz. The little treat pouch that I made today, that Becky showed us how to do. So it's an opportunity to learn, and have fun. And the things that you make are things like, I haven't even given this to Raul to check out. So happy Valentine's Day a week early, sweetie.
Oh, thank you.
Reach out.
Wow. Thank you.
So, so those little paper, those little gift card holders or little candy, you can put a little candy in them. Those are very easy to make and don't require a lot of supplies.
Am I allowed to eat the buttercup?
It's a good.
See, I don't even know.
Not all candy will fit in there. So I had to kind of be careful with what I chose. But, so, you can also get things, boxes, little decorative boxes you can buy and make those and put stuff in them too. So that's really all I have. I've talked to you guys pretty much about everything on my notes. Is there any questions?
Stacie, this is Ron.
Yes.
I do have a question. Do you know of any groups or, like, does the NFB have a chapter for craft making, or is there any organized groups out there doing this?
So the National Federation of the Blind does have a crafters division. They focus, a lot of their stuff is centered around crocheting, knitting. I think there's some quilting. To be honest with you, I've never had the time to check them out.
Yeah.
But that is available. Liz, myself, Belinda, Becky, we're all part of a group in Stampin' Up called the Stamp Therapists. And it's a Facebook group that we belong to. Stampin' Up, I guess the best way to kind of explain Stampin' Up is think about Mary Kay or 31, if you're into bags, 31 Gifts, Pampered Chef and Tupperware for cooking. That's what Stampin' Up is, except it's all about paper. So if that might help people better understand. So I am a Stampin' Up demonstrator. You know, like I said, I'm not here today to sell things, but and I actually don't do it for a business. I do it more for a hobby. And then because I am a demonstrator and have been for a while, there are some benefits that I get as a demonstrator. But so we belong to a group called the Stamp Therapists. That's a very active Facebook group that shares, you know, people will post pictures about cards that they've done, or they ask questions about Stampin' Up products. One of the things that's been really kind of cool, the leader of that group, you know, and the majority of the people in the Stamp Therapists, they're all sighted people. And so what's really been really kind of a cool thing is for those of us who are blind and low vision, it's been an opportunity for us to teach them about, you know, something about blind people and show them that blind people can actually do this stuff. The leader of that group, Jennifer, she actually has, I mean, she is very much into Stampin' Up. That's her business. She actually is going to be celebrated in our upcoming catalog because she has, over the years, she's been doing this for, I think, over 20 years. She's actually reached $1 million sales. And so when you get to that point, you get to have a stamp set, you know, that you've designed in the catalog. But she does a lot of this stuff. She has clubs that people can join. She hosts a monthly bingo game, which I have signed up for, and I'll be doing it again in February, where you get online, you get on Zoom with other paper crafters and you play bingo. It's an opportunity to meet new friends. It's an opportunity to try to win prizes. And then, you know, as a part of your prize for participating, she sends you like the project kit of the projects that are going to be made for that day. So I've not gotten the February one yet, but she's very generous with the things that are included in there. You get stuff to make cards. Everything is punched or die cut for you. So all you're going to need is the basics of adhesive and, you know, that kind of thing. So it's kind of like a craft kit, all-inclusive craft kit, but you need to have your scissors and your adhesive and that kind of stuff.
Okay, Stacie, we have a hand raised.
Okay, yep.
Elisa, you can go ahead and unmute yourself.
So if I was to buy like regular paper or like regular little card, like Valentine's, say like Valentine's cards, I don't know how to explain myself correctly. Could you like use like, could I decorate those Valentine's paper cards or paper and like put like shapes of stickers, or it has to be like a sort of heart sticker? So I don't know if I'm making sense.
So, yep. So you could actually buy, you know, at Hobby Lobby or Michael's. Walmart might even have them, but I don't know this for sure. I know Hobby Lobby and Michael's for sure has boxes of cards. They come in different colors. You could get, you know, let's say you wanted to get a box of plain white cards and envelopes. You could get those, and then you could get some sort of heart stickers. or if you wanted to get a punch, which is what I kind of talked about, you might be able to find a punch that's in the shape of a heart, and you would put paper in it like you would a hole puncher, and
Yeah.
and that punch would punch out cards. And then you would need to get something, or that punch would punch out hearts. So then you would need to get some sort of something like either a glue stick or the Snail that I talked about, or double-sided tape that you could use to stick things on the cards, or you could get stickers. There's all kinds of heart stickers. Any kind of sticker you could possibly imagine is out there. So
Because I have a whole kit, like a big old box with craft supplies, but I don't know if beads would. I don't know if like putting different like different beads, array of beads would look hard to put on there.
Liz or Belinda, if y'all are on here and can help with this, my concern about beads is if they are like round beads, they might fall off. You would have to make sure that you have some pretty sticky adhesive to put on there.
Liz is on, Bella's not.
Okay, Liz.
Okay. Thank you.
Hey, yeah. So you could, I agree with Stacie, like if it's rounder, that might be harder, but you could try it with glue dots and see if that works. But there are lots of different pearls and rhinestones and like epoxy shapes that you can buy that have the flat backs and even buttons and things like that. So you can definitely make them really tactile.
Stacie?
Yes.
This is Victoria. I just have a question about that, like even for beads. And this may be a visual thing, but I haven't heard you mention this. How about like a glue gun? Does that work like stronger than regular glue that would make it stick, like for the beads and stuff with stuff? A glue gun make things stick stronger than the other stuff that you've mentioned, or do we just stay away from that?
My concern, and Liz, also feel free to chime in. My concern with a glue gun is you're working with paper. And so for a lot of this stuff, like your embellishments and things, your adhesive, you want to use it sparingly. And so you would have to be very precise with that glue gun. And it would, I mean, I personally would not use a glue gun with this, but there might be other people that have.
Yeah, well, I love glue guns, but I wouldn't use it for card making or scrapbooking because it, just like Stacie said, like you're getting a lot of glue at once, and it can change the color of like thin paper. So like if you had a patterned paper,
I didn't think of that.
But like I might use a glue gun on like a canvas if I was doing a painting and then adding beads to that, or I used a hot glue gun with cardstock when I made like my paper flower wall and like wreaths and things like that. I'll use a hot glue gun, but you don't even have to. There are some really good, wet like Tombo type glues. Yeah. But yeah, I wouldn't really recommend hot glue for the smaller things like card making.
Right. And even for me, when I was sighted, I made a mess with the glue gun, even when I could see. So I can just imagine how much more a mess I could make without sight. So
it's part of the process.
Right, exactly. Thank you.
And I think, like with anything, I am of the opinion that we'll take the heat emboss tool. Okay. I think it's a really cool tool. I think what Liz and Becky do with it is great. I don't know that it, for me, my hesitancy is patience. You have to be kind of patient with that. And because I'm such a fanatic about being precise, that's one of those things that if you make a mistake, it's gonna be more easily noticed. So I have not been brave enough to try it. And it's not so much because of me being blind. It's more, do I really have the patience to do this? You know, that kind of thing. You know, my friend Belinda just joined, and she and I are very similar in our approach to card making, where we really like the punches and the embellishments and the dies. And it's not to say that Liz and Becky and Kaylee don't like those, but they tend to do more with ink and you know, the heat emboss tool and that kind of stuff. And that's okay. You know, it doesn't mean that Belinda and I can't use those things. It just means everybody has their own niche. Any questions?
I don't have any more raised hands, so.
Well, so I will probably Monday, Ron, I will have the list of the things that I talked about today, the Stampin' Up, Michaels, Hobby Lobby, Sizzix, and Spellbinders. And, you know, that way when we get the survey out to you guys, you have those if you want to fall back on. If you want to write me off this call, if you're interested in additional information, I can certainly get you hooked up that way. The one thing that I will say about craft boxes is that they're a subscription service. So it's a month-to-month subscription. So maybe you're somebody that really likes Christmas, maybe in fall. So you might say, oh, I'm going to sign up for Paper Pumpkin for September, October, and November and December, or October, November, and December. And that's all you do. You know, Stampin' Up has 1 3-month, 6-month, and 1-year subscriptions. I'm not sure about Sizzix and Spellbinders. I know for sure it's monthly subscriptions. But again, with Sizzix, you're going to need to have a die cut machine. Stampin' Up, the stuff comes already die cut and punched for you. So, you know, those are options. Again, Hobby Lobby has the 40% off coupon. Their iOS app is very user friendly. The Android app is a little wonky to me, but you know, you can get a lot of everything that I talked about today. You can also get locally at those stores, and there's always Amazon as well.
Awesome. And then Christy, if you want to, we have a raised hand. So if you want to go ahead and unmute yourself, you can do so.
All right, Christy, you have a question?
Yeah, hi, it's Christy. Can you put that that powder stuff in your email, please? Because I mentioned, can you use puff powder earlier, and you said there was some kind of other stuff that you used. Can you put that powder stuff in your email, please?
Yeah, I think you're talking about the embossing powder, and that's something that Stampin' Up sells. So, you know, I'll have the link to the Stampin' Up website in there, and then I can put the embossing powder, you know, the catalog number for that.
Okay, thank you.
Okay. All right, anybody else?
Well, thank you.
Yeah, I want to thank you guys. Yeah, I want to thank you guys for joining us today, and hope you will consider making some cards and letting us know how that turned out for you.
And I will tell you, my 2 cents here is that I have never done this, but you gave good, thorough explanations, and the confidence with which you present this, Stacie, makes it very graspable that, hey, I could do this. So I appreciate you sharing your knowledge, your insight, and your passion for doing this. And Raul, I'm jealous you got your chocolate already today. So, I thank y'all for coming today. and I appreciate you sharing of your time. Um, we will be having another workshop in 2 weeks. It will be a game day. We are planning our Inside Expo, which will be Saturday, April 10th. So we are scheduling the game day to just get together, have a social time, and play, and let us work on planning the Inside Expo as well, without having to take a lot of time away from what we're doing for planning on that. We thank you for coming today. We do have a door prize, $25 Amazon gift card donated by Haven. And I need a number between 1 and 12. We have 12 participants here.
I have one picked already, Ron, if you're good with numbers.
Go for it.
It's it's a nice palindrome and prime number 11.
Sarah W. Sarah Wappler.
Hey guys, thank you so much. I appreciate that.
Well, congratulations. You're a winner. I will follow up with
Yay.
you and
Yay, thank you.
get with you on this. So
Thank you, guys.
and we appreciate y'all coming today. And
Yay.
really, sincerely, thanks a lot. This will be posted on YouTube as soon as we get it up. So if you want a repeat of this, you want to go back and catch some of the details.
Yeah, I think I might.
So
And happy Valentine's Day, everybody.
Yes, happy Valentine's Day.
Yes, happy Valentine's Day, everyone.
Happy
Hope you have a
Valentine's
good
Day.
Valentine's.
Share the love and love the one you
Happy
miss.
Valentine's Day.
Share it with your mask on.
All right. Well, thanks again. Yep.
Okay.
Bye,
Y'all have a
everyone.
wonderful day.
Bye, everyone.
Bye.
Great job. Thanks.
Great job,
job.
Stacie. Thanks a
Yes,
lot.
Stacie.